Markets in Nigeria remain upbeat, with traders at Access Bank expecting the bullish run in fixed income to continue, though with slightly less momentum than in the previous session, particularly along the OMO curve. The outlook could shift if the central bank announces a new auction. And joining me now to break down the latest market trends and what investors should watch ahead of the August inflation data and the Q2 2025 GDP data is Anthony Aigbokhan, the Treasury Team Member at Access Bank. Thank you so much for your time today, Anthony. And let's start with what we're seeing play out there with liquidity in the market. And we see that it's stayed quite robust despite the Sierra maintenance. What's driving that resilience there? And talk us through the key activities in the market this week.
Okay, thank you very much for having me. So starting with the money market update, what we've seen liquidity at very high levels. Currently, it was at 1.89 trillion. We've seen that the CBN has been okay in keeping the liquidity at these high levels. Before, what we would have noticed would have been maybe an OMO auction or anything to try to reduce the liquidity. But what we've seen is that liquidity has stayed at this 1.9 trillion levels for quite a while. So we've seen OPR and overnight rates at 26.5 and 26.95%.
All right, let's get into your expectation on FX. I see for the Naira, you see that rates are holding around that 1.5 to 1.503 band here. You know, how sustainable is this and also that balance between modest inflows and also the steady demand in the market?
Yes, for the Nigerian foreign exchange market, what we've seen is a steady appreciation of the Naira against the US dollar. We've seen it move from the beginning of the month where it was at 15.30 levels to currently at 15.01, 15.03 levels. There are many factors that could drive this, but the key ones would include, we've seen in the US where the weakening of the job data showing the weakening of the US economy. We've seen the US dollar depreciate across major pairs in the market. So those weakness, the expectation of a rate cut in the US has driven most inflows to come into emerging markets and frontier markets like Nigeria. Also, we've seen the CBN a willing participants in the market. They've been willing to sell dollars. We saw them coming this morning, selling dollars of up to over $10 million. So we've seen that the supply of the US dollar in the market has been relatively steady. The FX reserves, which are highs of 41 billion, is also a key driver to give the CBN more room to defend the Naira. So consequently, we've seen the Naira trade at between 15.01. Yesterday, the FX rates closed at 15.03, and we saw the FM rates close at 15.02. We expect this strengthening of the Naira to continue, largely because of we expect a rate cut coming from the US side, and the depreciation of the dollar. So we expect to see more FPIs coming into the market. We expect to see the dollar supply in the market to continue to improve. And looking at it in the short term, we expect to see the Naira trading between 1,500 and 1,485.